Everyone's feeling it. Grocery bills are going up. Budgets are getting tighter, and just walking down the aisles is starting to feel like prepping for a financial ambush. If you've noticed eggs, beef, even rice costing more each week, it's not your imagination, and it's not over yet. We're seeing a perfect storm of tariffs, shortages, and global disruptions driving up the cost of food that you rely on every single day. And with May right around the corner, the window to protect your pantry and your wallet is closing fast. But the problem isn't just that prices are rising, it's that most people are stocking up on the wrong things entirely. And that's exactly why I made this video. I'm going to walk you through the 7 foods that are about to spike the hardest, exactly why they're rising, how much they're expecting to go up, and most importantly, what you can do about it, and what I'm doing about it. Now, I'm just not handing you a checklist of stuff to hoard. I'm giving you the strategy to beat the system. Because while everyone else is panic buying the usual suspects, you'll be 2 steps ahead, saving money, avoiding waste, and staying prepared for what's coming. Hello, my friend. If you are new here, my name is Sarah. I'm the owner of FrozenPennies.com. I'm a financial coach and the author of the international best-selling book, Fundamentally Frugal. Link below. Now, I would love to know if you're seeing the prices on these things increase yet, or if maybe they're already starting to decrease where you live. I'll fill you in on my findings as we go through them. I will also leave the links to the sources in the description below if you'd like to look at those. Beef and veal prices are climbing in spring 2025 due to persistent drought conditions in the US that have forced cattle ranchers to reduce their herd sizes. This has a result in decreased production and tighter beef supply. Meanwhile, consumer demands for beef remain strong, creating a supply-demand imbalance. According to the USDA's Economic Research Service, beef and veal prices were 7.6% higher in February 2025 than in February 2024, and are expected to increase by another 5.2% over the course of the rest of this year. Now, there are some alternative options. You can easily substitute beef with more affordable proteins, such as ground turkey, ground chicken, or pork. Lentils, mushrooms, and black beans are excellent plant-based alternatives that mimic the texture of ground meat when cooked. You can also do things like meatless crumbles and veggie burgers made from soy or pea protein. They're widely available and can be swapped in for burgers, tacos, and sauces. Now, we are big beef eaters in our house. We love beef. If I were rich, I would eat steak every single day. So how are we combating these higher prices? Well, we're cutting back on other areas of our grocery spending. Less snacks for one and less bread for all of us. Nobody in this house needs more bread. Dairy product prices are rising in several regions of the world too, including the United States and India, as producers face high costs for fuel, animal feed, and packaging materials. India's Heritage Foods, for example, has announced a price increase of 2 to 4% across its product line, including the milk, starting April 2025. Now, although U.S. dairy inflation is not as steep, similar economic pressures are driving gradual increases in retail dairy prices. Alternative options, some great ones, plant-based milk alternatives, are increasingly popular and now widely available. Some of them are also very easy to make. Almond, oat, soy, coconut, and pea milk are all viable replacements for cow's milk in most recipes, beverages, and cereals. For cheese and yogurt, options made from cashew, almond, and coconut bases can work just as well, and many of them are fortified with the calcium and vitamin D to match dairy's nutritional benefits. Now, I've changed from yogurt to chia pudding made with canned coconut milk. It gives me that creaminess of the yogurt without the cow dairy, which my body likes a little bit better anyway. Coffee is another pantry staple that continues to experience price hikes in 2025. A combination of erratic weather patterns affecting crops in Brazil and Vietnam and newly reinstated tariffs on imports have contributed to a steep increase in green coffee prices. These prices have surged over 100% since 2024. With a 25% jump in the first quarter of this year alone. Tariffs of up to 10% on coffee imports, including those from Mexico, are also raising costs for U.S. importers and, ultimately, us consumers. Now, there are some alternative options for coffee. If coffee prices climb out of reach, there are several caffeine-containing alternatives worth trying. Black and green teas are still relatively affordable and offer a lighter caffeine kick. Chicory root beverages and roasted barley drinks can offer a coffee-like experience without the caffeine or costs. Additionally, matcha or yerba mate can serve as a high-energy substitute for your morning cup of joe. Now, we are not giving up coffee. I cannot imagine trying to substitute any of these. There's just no way. I would take on an extra side hustle before I would give up coffee. If you know me at all, you know that after my family, I love coffee. It's a close second to the love that I have for my husband. Sacrifices will need to be made in other areas of my life before I give it up. Now, we do drink tea in the evenings, so that's kind of nice. We don't drink any more than 2 cups of coffee during the day. Seafood prices are on the rise due to new tariffs levied on imports from top sources, countries like Vietnam and Chile. These nations supply all substantial portions of the U.S. seafood market, and the additional costs imposed by these tariffs are now being passed on to consumers. Industry resources suggest that this could significantly impact the prices of popular items such as tilapia, shrimp, and salmon. Now, the U.S. imports approximately 80% of its seafood. With the new tariffs, consumers can expect higher prices for imported seafood products, including shrimp and salmon. In early 2025, the U.S. implemented that 10% baseline tariff on most imported goods, including the seafood. Now, specific countries do face those higher tariffs. Vietnam at 46% and India at 26%. A 25% tariff has been imposed on seafood imports from Canada and Mexico, with similar tariff anticipated for some European imports. These tariffs are expected to drive up U.S. salmon prices by as much as 10%. There are some alternative options to these. You can look for US-based seafood coming from Maine and possibly New Hampshire. If it becomes unaffordable, consider switching to domestic fish like catfish or lake trout, which are often more budget-friendly. Canned options such as sardines and mackerel are typically lower in cost and packed with good omega-3s. For plant-based options, look for tofu, tempeh, or seaweed-based faux fish products, which are designed to replicate the flavor and nutrition of seafood. I'm not really sure how I feel about those. Many people in the frugal realm may not be doing a whole lot of salmon and shrimp because, well, let's face it, it's not the cheapest protein out there. Try local. If you have a friend or family member that loves to fish, strike a deal. We have a lake here that's pronounced with salmon. There are so many salmon and they're safe to eat. You can learn to fish for yourself. It's pretty therapeutic and you can find fishing equipment at garage sales often for pretty cheap. My dad, he was a fishing pole collector. He loved to fish, and he found most of his collection at garage sales. 'Tis the season. Global rice prices remain elevated due to export restrictions by key producing countries and lingering impacts of El Nino on growing conditions. In 2023, rice prices rose by 28% globally, and the World Bank expects another 6% increase into the end of 2025. These pressures are now being felt in the United States retail markets, where the costs of staples like rice, wheat, and flour are gradually ticking upward. Fortunately, there are a variety of other grains that can serve as cost-effective and healthy alternatives to rice. Barley, quinoa, bulgur, millet, and farro are often overlooked but highly nutritious. For pasta dishes, whole wheat, lentil, or chickpea pastas can also be used interchangeably. Buying these grains in bulk bins can help stretch your budget even further. I think even with the increase in prices, rice is still an inexpensive way to stretch a meal. We're big fans of quinoa and lentils too. And chickpea pasta, it really isn't terrible. Spices and cooking oils are seeing price increases this spring due to import tariffs targeting products from China and Mexico, 2 major suppliers for the US market. These tariffs have driven up costs for seasonings, herbs, and oils such as olive and canola. Now, the results have been noticeably price bumps for every cooking essential. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, prices for salt and other seasonings and spices have risen by approximately 19.9% from 2020 to 2025, averaging an annual inflation rate of 3.7%. The FAO Vegetable Oil Price Index reported a 29.1% increase in vegetable oil prices from February 2024 to February 2025, driven by higher quotations across palm, rapeseed, soy, and sunflower oils. Now, again, there are some other options. In place of imported spices, you can often turn to local herb gardens or dry herbs grown domestically, such as rosemary, thyme, and basil. When it comes to oils, consider switching to more budget-friendly and versatile options like sunflower or vegetable, which are more often made from domestically grown crops. For added nutrition, rendered animal fats like lard or tallow, as well as butter, ghee, or bacon grease, can also be substituted depending on your dietary needs. There's nothing like growing your own herbs in a windowsill. I'm on a pesto kick right now. I have this recipe for pesto chicken that is so yummy, so I really need to start growing my own basil. And as far as oils go, I refuse to use any seed oils as I feel they're super unhealthy for my body. We will stick with olive and avocado oil. Now, this is an area where we will pay the higher prices in exchange for our health. And as we've seen, egg prices are rising sharply in the United States this spring, driven primarily by the resurgence of the high pathogenic avian influenza, HPAI. The outbreak has led to the culling of millions of egg-laying hens, creating a significant shortage in supply. As a result, egg prices have already climbed over 37% this year, and the USDA projects that they could rise by an additional 20% through the remainder of 2025. Now, according to AgWeb, this makes eggs one of the fastest rising grocery staples in the country. If eggs become unaffordable or hard to find, there are some suitable replacements. For baking, try flaxseed or chia seed eggs. 1 tablespoon of seed mixed with 3 tablespoons of water. Unsweetened applesauce, mashed banana, or commercial egg replacers like Bob's Red Mill Egg Replacer also work pretty well. For savory dishes, consider using tofu scrambles, chickpea flour omelets, or even just extra dairy or plant-based milk and oil combinations in recipes that call for eggs. Now, here in upstate New York, we're actually seeing the price of eggs slowly decline. Very, very slowly. However, our local farm where we used to get our eggs still has no eggs sign out. We really, really miss those eggs. How are the egg prices doing in your neck of the woods? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you've been snoozing on chia seeds, I encourage you to do some Googling on the benefits and how to use them. They're delicious and cheap. So now you know, the price hikes aren't just random and the impact isn't really small. From eggs to spices, what's happening right now is reshaping how we shop, cook, and prepare for what's next. But instead of reacting in panic, you've got the blueprint. As a bonus, I just want to give you some information that's been reported by CNN in the last few days about price increases. Expect these things to increase in price. Copper and critical materials. The specifics on the materials are not yet known, but they are under investigation. Softwood lumber. This one stinks for us because we plan on fixing our front porch this summer and we're going to need some lumber to do that. Pharmaceuticals. Like the cost of meds aren't already high enough. Semiconductors. Now, semiconductor chips are used in medical devices, Wi-Fi routers, laptop, cars, phones, and appliances. These are going to go up in price. Now you know the 7 most vulnerable foods, the exact reasons they're spiking, and most importantly, you've got real alternatives and action steps to stay ahead of that curve. This isn't about fear. It's about being smart, strategic, and self-reliant. Whether you're prepping for a storm, a shortage, or just want to stretch your grocery budget as far as it can go, you now have a plan that most people don't. If this helps you feel more prepared, more confident, or just more informed, hit that like button, drop a comment, and let me know what you're stocking up on. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next wave of tips to keep your home resilient and your pantry full. And watch this video next.